Ultimately, nothing lasts forever, and as we march forward towards the new console generation, Nintendo has a big decision to make. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about if it's time for us to say goodbye to Amiibo. Let's start off by having a little trip down memory lane, and looking at what exactly are Amiibo. And for those of you who already know what they are, you can skip this section with the timestamps below. Amiibo are interactive figures and cards created by Nintendo that use near-field communication, or NFC for short, technology to interact with compatible games on Nintendo Switch, 3DS, and Wii U. By tapping an Amiibo on a compatible device, players can unlock new modes, weapons, character customizations, or boost abilities in-game. By tapping an Amiibo on a compatible device, players can unlock new modes, weapons, character customizations, or boost abilities in games. The effect of the Amiibo will depend on what game you're playing, but ultimately, Amiibo was Nintendo's response to the Toys to Life craze that started with Skylanders back in 2011. Amiibos were launched in November of 2014, meaning we are rapidly approaching the 10-year anniversary. And as of September of 2022, around 77 million Amiibos have been sold. And as neat as the Amiibo were, they've always been kinda just weird. To understand better, let's compare Amiibo with other Toys to Life products. The biggest one, of course, being Skylanders. Skylanders were the ones that actually made the whole Toys to Life craze, kick off. Because they had a solid idea. Because somehow, Activision managed to create a game where they removed all playable characters and turned them all into paid DLC, but paid DLC that you can't buy online, that you have to physically go to the store and buy each character individually and sell that as a feature. And you know what? People ate that shit up. But why? Because the concept was really novel and cool. The idea you could just swap from character to character in an instant just by removing them on and off a portal was so just different and unique. Now, by all means, Skylanders was not the first Toys to Life game. The first Toys to Life game was actually Funky's in 2007 that was made by Mattel. But Skylanders Spyro's Adventure was what popularized the Toys to Life genre of video games, inspiring other companies to follow suit, such as Disney with Disney Infinity, LEGO with LEGO Dimension, and of course Nintendo with Amiibos. But now let's talk about Amiibos again, because Nintendo's approach to Toys to Life was in a completely different direction than the other companies. Activision, Disney, and LEGO really built a game focused on these toys. If these toys did not exist, the game itself would just not work. And that was what the hook of this product was. It was physical DLC. You knew that when you bought a new figure, your game, would open up more and you'd have more to do. But Nintendo didn't want to take this approach. They didn't want to create a game surrounding a toy. They wanted to see how the toy could benefit in the game, making sure that the game at the core was good and could be played without these additional figures. And this was absolutely the right thing to do on Nintendo's part, because just like every other craze, soon after, it died. And even to this day, almost 10 years later, Nintendo is still making Amiibos. I think we can all agree that the heyday of the Amiibos, however, was during the Wii U and 3DS era. The first time we saw Amiibos being used, it was with Smash Bros. For Wii U, where we could scan our Amiibos and train them, where the Amiibo would allegedly learn from your fighting style and copy you, and eventually surpass you. I've always had my doubts that they actually work that way, but that's besides the point. The idea was really cool nonetheless, because although it was technically at the end of the day just a CPU that you're fighting against, it somehow felt more like you were fighting a friend. I'm not sure if it's just because you have to scan them in and you got to watch them get stronger, so you kind of in a sense form a slight bond with it, but either way it felt more special than just setting up a random CPU opponent. Then in Mario Kart 8 you could scan in certain Amiibos to get Mii costumes of Nintendo characters that just aren't in Mario Kart themselves, which was also a really novel idea. For example, being able to take your Star Fox Amiibo, scanning it, and then having a Fox McCloud outfit for your Mii, that was really cool. And of course, it's hard to not mention probably Nintendo's biggest Amiibo endeavor, which was Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. This was the first time that Nintendo fully explored the idea of creating a game completely revolving around the Amiibo themselves. And according to the game's director Ayaka Kiyogoku, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival began development because the team wanted to create Animal Crossing Amiibo and needed a game to utilize them. The game went on to flop big time, but that's irrelevant to the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is during the Wii U era, the Amiibos kind of lived well within the games, providing the people that did own them neat hidden features or abilities or costumes or something of that nature. Then eventually the Switch came along and we did still have some Amiibo support provided. There are still quite a few games that do have Amiibo support, and Nintendo still, like I mentioned before, does still release Amiibos to this day. But in the past, it kind of felt more like Nintendo was creating a game and keeping the Amiibos in mind, whereas now I kind of just feel like the Amiibos are afterthoughts. Because I feel like in most cases now when we see Amiibo use in games, all they really do is give you a few in-game items, and when I mean a few, I mean a really insignificant amount. Which is why it makes me question, is it time to say goodbye to the Amiibo? But before we move on, I have something quick to share. If this is your first time here, hey, my name's Acadrien and I post weekly Nintendo videos, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider to subscribe and like the video. That's all I wanted to say, so now we can go right back into the video. As I hinted at the beginning of this video, nothing lasts forever, and Amiibos are going on to 10 years old. And as I mentioned before, every other Toys to Life game has been long gone and dead. I think actually Nintendo is actually pretty lucky that they made it last this long. And overall, I think a lot of the excitement has worn off as well. You know, a lot of the Amiibos that come out nowadays do look very nice, like the quality of them definitely did up from when they originally released. But still, with that being said, most people just kind of look at them and say neat and leave them on the shelves there. And if Nintendo does decide that they do want to part ways with the Amiibo, I don't know how many people necessarily would be all of that, you know, upset. There'll always be some people that are going to be upset, of course. And to a certain degree, I will as well. I actually quite like the Amiibo. But the reality is, the games can completely live without the Amiibo, and they have been doing it for a long time now. And the Amiibo's place in the market is slowly but surely dwindling. But if Nintendo truly does want to stop producing Amiibo, I think we're going to find out very soon. Because right now, Nintendo is sitting on their prime opportunity to kill off the Amiibo. And even though some of you that are watching might be fatigued by this topic, I have to bring it up. As we all know, Nintendo is getting ready to reveal their next console. And all Nintendo really has to do is not include an NFC reader and boom, Amiibos are done, just like that. And don't take this next point as fact, it's just pure speculation on my part, but Nintendo might have already very stealthily dropped a hint of what's to come. If you look at all the mainline Zelda games on Switch, both 2D and 3D, here's what I noticed. Breath of the Wild had a whole line of Amiibos just for that game. Then The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening comes out, and it also gets its very own Amiibo. Moving forward, then we get to The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which also received its very own Amiibo. And then finally, we have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. At release, there was only one Amiibo for the game, it was the Link Amiibo, but later on they did go out and release a Zelda and Ganondorf Amiibo. However, there's one more Legend of Zelda game on Switch. Or rather I should say, there will be one more. Because if you look at The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, you will notice that there's actually no Amiibo releasing for it. However, if you do go on Nintendo's website, they do advertise that the game will have Amiibo support. Once you tap an Amiibo in the game, you will receive useful items for your adventure as well as certain in-game outfits in alternate colors. So for me, I feel like it's kind of weird that they're not making a specific Amiibo for this game. But again, this could easily mean nothing, so it's just something I thought I would point out. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Nintendo will be phasing out Amiibos in the next console generation? Let me know down in the comments, and until next time, warel.